Welcome to another episode of Big Ego Media. I told you lot I'm going to be consistent now. I've not been consistent as late. We've got a special guest going by the name of Mama CERTY. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad. How was your trip down?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. So, yeah, I'm just happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
No, at all. No, so, I mean, you've caused a lot of controversy online, and it's actually brought up a lot of talk about the education of a certain word, which we'll get into. But as we do with all of our interviews, we always start from the very get-go, from the very start. Please tell us where you're from and where did you grow up?
So, I grew up in foster care. I got fostered at 2 years old, and I grew up in Somerset, which is in the southwest of England. I grew up with the same family that fostered my mum and my auntie, which is a bit controversial because usually when you get fostered, it's by like a family that you've never had any interaction with before. That this was a family that had fostered my mum and my auntie, so they were already involved in my family, which was kind of confusing growing up because I saw the foster family as my parents, and that was just hard because my mum would come and visit every weekend, and I'm trying to direct the respect you give to your parents to the right person without hurting anybody's feelings, and that's not easy.
Was there a bit of a beef between them?
Not so much a beef, but it was a difficult dynamic, and it was hard to navigate sometimes because you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings and become conscious of that as you're growing up.
I mean, let's get into that quickly then. I mean, like you said you got fostered, but your parents were in your life at the time. I mean, and you said the same people that fostered your mum, so your mum was also in foster care. I mean, tell us the history of your mum and your father, of what you remember.
So, from what I remember, I never met my father. My mum, she was born in East London in Hackney, and then by the age of about 7, I've been told, she was fostered out to Somerset. She'd been past pillar to post before then, and something my foster carers always said to me, like, oh, because she came at that age, you know, we didn't really stand much of a chance with her, so when we fostered you, we thought we had more of a chance with you, which I always thought was a bit of a weird statement, but I was young when she said it to me, so I didn't really know how to take it, but it's just one of those ones where I've always felt bad for my mum because I feel like maybe she wasn't really given that chance that I was. So that was always something that played on my mind because that was said to me, and that's something that, you know, it just played on my mind a lot growing up.
I mean, what kind of led to you having to be fostered? What was the dynamics with your mum and your auntie?
Well, I think where I was shown that they weren't really given a chance, that kind of hindered them in their life growing up and growing as an adult. And I understand there's a lot of people that go through adversities that come on to be successful, and they don't really go through the hardships that other people go through, and that's, I think, probably down to mentality, discipline, that sort of thing. But some people, they either lack that or they weren't taught that, and it's difficult in that sense when I know that I've been told my mum wasn't given a chance.
What's your mum's background? Where's she from?
My mum is half Nigerian, half Irish.
Half Nigerian, half Irish. And where was your dad from?
So my dad, as far as I've been told, is Armenian. Okay. That's the most I've been told. I've never been taught about that culture. I've never tapped into that. No one's ever reached out to me. So I wish I knew more about that. It would be interesting to find out certain things.
The Kardashians, are they Armenians or?
I've been told that. I've been told that a few times. Yeah.
Okay, so not knowing your dad, how do you think that's kind of affected you in terms of your whole sort of childhood and the woman you are now?
I think in my early years, it didn't really affect me because I had a great foster father who taught me like great values and morals. But he passed when I was about 14, so that was difficult. And obviously, since then, I think it's probably weighed more on my mind as I've grown up. Like wishing I had the father figure there, like especially going through like puberty as a woman, going through all those changes, being rebellious. Like you really do need a father's input at that point, and that's where I probably lacked it. So growing up, I can't really complain on the sense of like financial side of the way I was brought up. It was good to a point, and then when he passed, it was like everything changed. I got put into mainstream foster care.
So, they gave you up at that point?
Yeah, and like.
Is it because the foster mom couldn't cope, or?
Yeah, I feel like she probably just put her grieving in front of mine, because I understand that's your husband of 40 years, but that's my father of 12 years, the only father I'm ever going to have in his life. Like, I know now, on that side of things, when it comes to having a father and a mother there as a parent, I'm going to be lacking in one of them, because that was the only father I had. Some people in foster care, I know there's many situations, you know, they're in foster care, but they know they still have their mum and their dad there. But to know that's the only father you're ever going to have, to lose that, and then to be out there on your own, and to be thinking that, you know, you're going to be having to think for yourself as your mother, as your father, you're going to have to be getting into your male energy in protecting yourself, not really knowing how to do that, because obviously I believe man are man and woman are woman. So as a woman, how can I ever really know how a man is going to think? I'm always going to need that fatherly guidance, that fatherly love. So when he passed, I realised I was really on my own. I realised then, yeah, I could have done with my real father being around. And I think that's something that I always feel for my mother, like being a single mum and then having whatever she came from growing up. It can't have been easy, and that's why I've never tried to hold it against her. But these things in life can happen, and when you're in the system, it's different.
So how was, I mean, once you kind of left your sort of foster mom and gone into the actual sort of main foster care system, what was the main difference that you was feeling? And how was you at school at that point?
I think obviously it came at the worst time, because I was just coming up to my GCSEs. So it was just a lot going on at the time that I didn't need. And you can't really choose you can't just decide, oh, I don't want this to happen.
Let's talk about school. Like, was you quite intelligent? Was you top set? Did you struggle a little bit? Need extra help? Middle?
No, so I think I got on in school quite well. Like, I didn't like maths, but I was always good at English. I loved history. I was good at science. I liked chemistry and biology. Didn't really like physics. I liked school. I think learning is important. I think we're always learning as humans. We're always growing, evolving, and obviously knowledge is power. It will always be, and yeah, that's my view on it.
So, growing up, you said your mum's half Nigerian, half Irish. Was you always aware of that? Is your mum pretty sort of mixed race looking, or was she fair? How did you always know? Oh, my mum is foreign.
Yeah, I could tell my mum was black. I could tell my mum was Nigerian. You can see that straight away.
Did you ever eat the Nigerian food? Did you ever get into that part of the culture for you?
Not so much that, but it was made very clear that my last name was Nigerian by, obviously.
What is your last name, by the way?
So my last name is Ekpaloba. It begins with EKPA.
Okay.
And that's very...
Ekpaloba?
Yeah. Yeah, so obviously growing up, it wasn't just family that made that clear to me. It was like in class, everywhere I'm going, people looking at me, looking at the surname. And at the end of it, it's interesting because the end of it, to some people, can sound Eastern European or like Russian. But I guess because I have the look that I have, where some might call it white passing or Asian passing, it makes more sense for them to think maybe Russian, but I know what I was told growing up.
Have you ever seen
Nigerian, I know that much.
Have you ever seen any photos of your dad? Or any sort of images, videos?
I have no idea what my Armenian father looks like. I wish I did. I mean, I'm guessing, because I've heard somewhere that women get their father's faces sometimes. I definitely feel like I've got my father's face because
so there's someone out
my mum's nose. My mum's got a cute little button nose, and I've got this Armenian straight Arab nose thing going on. So yeah, I think it's fake.
So, at which point did you leave the lovely area of Somerset and say, you know what, I'm going to try my luck out in London?
So, I left the very predominantly white area of Somerset to come to London when I was like 18. And I think that was due to the fact that, one, I never felt like I fit in down there. And that was made.
Did you ever suffer from racism out there?
I feel as if I did. I feel like it was very subtle at times. There was a few ignorant statements, but never anything too out there. Obviously, I've never been attacked racially, but I would say I have definitely suffered the kind of undertones and that sort of thing, especially due to the fact that the same village I grew up in, so did my mother and my auntie, so everybody knew who I was coming from. It wasn't like I was just a foster child that came out of nowhere and I could just live this new life that was trying, like, I was basically being whitewashed, and it wasn't really working because everybody knew where I came from, so it was like, what are we doing here? Like, why is this? It's not going to work.
What were the challenges you found coming to London? What was the hard thing? You came to London by yourself as well?
Yeah.
So, I mean, what did you... Talk us through that. You've come to London, where have you gone?
So, when I came to London, it was on quite traumatic grounds that my auntie's firstborn, my cousin, had been stabbed to death.
Okay, wow. What area was this?
This was 2015.
Okay.
So coming to London on that grounds wasn't nice, and I wish it had been on other grounds. It wasn't part of the plan. I never wanted to come to London. I was actually meant to go to America, but that's a whole nother story for another time. 2 days before I was going to fly out, I found out my cousin had been stabbed to death. So, like, one of the main reasons why I was trying to go out there, change my life, change my family's life.
What were you trying to do? I mean, did you,
so I
was
going to be going out there to dance, mainly, but yeah.
Is it like in strip clubs and stuff like that?
I want to get into that story another time. It's not really something I want to touch on too much, because it never happened. So, it's not really something I want to dwell on.
I mean, not that to do, just kind of understanding the mindset that you had at the time was, okay, I'm in the world by myself, as per se, right? And you felt that that was something that you thought you could do to change your life. So I just want to touch on basically why you thought that was the angle that might help you.
Yeah, well, I was pushed into performing arts growing up. I love dancing. I've always been a dancer. So I had an opportunity to go out to America with some quite well-known people. I don't like name dropping, so I'm not going to do that. But so if you know, then you know.
Rappers in America invited you over, basically.
Yeah, and it was around 2014 times that I came into contact and networked with these people, and it was just, to me, I was going to do what I had to do to change my life. Like, I wasn't going to grow up in a council estate. Like, I wasn't going to, like, I didn't want to do that, and it wasn't really my kind of objective at the time. I was 18 and I had a big dream. But visas got declined. I never ended up going, and I've ended up in London on the grounds that I've just lost one of my family members, and it was a chaotic time because his mum had been away for quite a while, and I think that had an effect on certain people's lives.
Because she went to jail?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that had an effect to an extent, as it would. But I feel like there was always hope, and that's what I held on to. But obviously, to come back to the UK to that news that your firstborn has passed, that can't have been easy. And
so she was in jail abroad then?
Yeah.
Okay, trafficking something?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, something along those lines. So I can't imagine what that must have felt like.
How did it feel for you?
For me, it was confusing because I didn't understand. I thought he was okay down here, and I didn't really understand how it had happened. There was a big case in the Old Bailey. It was a lot at the time, so it was very chaotic. Avon and Somerset Social Services had contacted London Social Services down in London because I'd realised that I was going to be stuck down here because I wasn't going back down to Somerset. It wasn't just so much the racism, it was other stuff that had been going on that I'm not going to go into either. So Avon and Somerset Social Services understood why I was not comfortable going back there.
So in regards to
wait there. I just need to learn my emotional here.
That's okay. It's okay. Take your time. You okay?
Yeah.
Alright, we're gonna continue. There'll be a lot of editing on this one, but it's all good. It's all good.
My bad.
Nah, it's all good. It's all good. I mean, you've gone through tragic kind of time. I mean, what have you done over? How long have you been in London now?
So I've been in London since 2015.
That's
when all of that was going on.
8 years now. Are you okay to say your age?
Yeah, I'm 27 now.
27 now. So how have you what have you been doing the last 8 years, kind of just career-wise, or what have you been trying to do? Just trying to find yourself?
So, like I was saying, when it was so chaotic, I really needed support, and I guess that's when I feel like I was really let down, in the sense that Avon and Somerset Social Services had made it clear to London Social Services that, it's not really ideal for her to come back here, so she needs support down in London. And London Social Services just refused and said, well, we think she should just go back to Somerset. But Somerset and Bristol and those sorts of places are places I've been groomed into prostitution, selling drugs. It wasn't really something that I wanted to go back to. And then to end up having to be in London after everything that's happened, I'm trying to think to myself, so who's there for? Who can I call on? Who can I actually ask for help? What am I going to do now? And it's interesting that you asked me, what have I been doing going forward? Because I've been trying to navigate. I've been trying to navigate what I'm doing and keep myself safe, make sure that I don't make too many mistakes, because I haven't got much more time for any more mistakes. There's been a lot of mistakes, in my opinion, that have been made in the past. And I feel like at this point, I've got a lot of things going on that are trying to gaslight me for certain mistakes that have gone on in the past.
I mean, we'll get into it a little bit, because I know there's been a lot of controversy in regards to your use of the N-word in one of your songs. But before we get there, why did you want to start rapping? When did you start rapping, basically?
So I've always like written music, and I think that started off when I was like younger, writing stories. I think whenever you're doing something, it's important to have not so much a plan, but maybe something like a vision or an objective or a message that you want to put out there. And that always can begin from a story that you kind of are able to express in your music. And I think I've taken my way of being able to put together what I need to say, and I've been able to put that in my music. And I think that comes from me loving music, using music as my therapy a lot of the time. Just, I think it was natural for me because I was listening to Biggie and Tupac from about 14 years old, and I just always loved listening to rap. That you can say so much, there's so much of your message you can put out there in a 3-minute song. And the way people just make metaphors and similes move into each other, and then you have a hook. It's just, when you have a solid song and a solid project that you put together, and then you see the result and the outcome, that's what makes me want to rap. Why wouldn't I want to do that when I can put what I need to say in my music?
And who was you kind of inspired by in the UK? Was there anyone you was kind of listening to in the UK?
So UK rap, I would say I started hearing UK when obviously Gigs was always played. Gigs was always being played in the raves. Pot of Paper. I listened to Pot of Paper all the time. All the training days. There's a lot of UK rap that I can name. There's too many for me to think of.
So do you remember when you kind of wrote down your first raps, and like who did you play it to? Who were you thinking, okay, this is it? Is there someone that you go listen to my raps before you put it out, or you're just confident within yourself?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I just like listening to what I'm thinking about a lot of the time. Like I've gone through periods where I don't even listen to music because, maybe faith has taken me to a certain place where I just need to just not really listen to music for a little while. But it's something that I go to when I need to, and majority of the time now, I just want to think about what I'm writing. I'm listening to my music, so...
Okay. So let's talk about the controversy. You decided to use the N-word. I don't know why I'm saying N-word because I'm black anyway, but I don't know, for some reason, unless I'm rapping, I don't really tend to say it myself, I don't feel there's a need for me to ever kind of say it, but we'll keep it here, we'll say the N-word. I guess the fact that you haven't really had your history of knowing your kind of who you are and so on, right? Do you understand why people kind of attack you and say that why she used the N-word, and why did you in the first place just think it was okay?
I think obviously knowing part of my history, like knowing for a fact that my surname is Nigerian, my family are black, my family are coming from Nigerian heritage, I think that made it, in my mind, easier for me to know who I was going to relate to more, given the fact that I didn't grow up around my father, I didn't grow up around Armenian culture. I grew up in England, I grew up in British culture, but I never felt like I was accepted into that. Because some people may see me as white passing, but other people will say I'm Asian passing. And I know a lot of white people I've interacted with have given me Asian racism. So when it comes to that sort of question, I feel like it's difficult. It's difficult because I've experienced a lot from a lot of different people. And this is why it always is difficult for me to explain, because everybody has their opinion, and everybody has their perspective and their outlook.
But
on
can
the
you understand
situation.
everyone's kind of backlash towards you? Can you understand why?
I can understand it, and I was horrified with the backlash that I received, because I didn't think I was going to receive it, because in my everyday life, there's people to this day that are ringing my phone saying, yo, what's up, mate? You know? And I do hold back to say the word, because that's out of respect. I honestly did not think I was going to receive that backlash. And receiving it opened my eyes to a different way of thinking to what I've been around in, I'd say, the past 10 years. Because in the past 10 years, it's been very normalized in my everyday life. I listen to it in music from people that look just like me, that are mixed race just like me. So even music from people that's before me that look like me. So it's very difficult to navigate on how to be correct in that moment.
Okay.
You know, I've received a lot of backlash from it, and what I've said since then is I'm going to refrain from saying it in my music, and I mean that. I'm not going to be saying it in my music. I don't need to. My lyrical ability is greater than that. And I also just think, you know, what I do in my personal life is nobody else's business. I'm not harming anybody. I know I'm not racist. And I hate the racist narrative people are trying to paint on it as well, because there is a big difference between the word with ER at the end and with A at the end.
I think that there can be connotation of it being a big difference, but at the same time, it is still the same word, irrespective of who kind of says it. So
it still has the same amount of offence.
Yeah. So as a black man, right? Obviously, you tell us that you are you're of race, right? So obviously, there's no way you can kind of really prove it unless you start sending pictures of your mummy. That's kind of people shouldn't have.
Which people have done, you know. People have been online, you know, sourcing my mum, which is crazy to me. You know, that level of harassment is actually crazy to me. But
I mean, my advice would be like, from when I guess you didn't really see that side of the culture growing up, and you didn't really kind of experience I guess even the struggles that most people go through. I mean, you definitely. You lived in a foster home, so I understand you definitely would have had your struggles. But I guess the black struggle, it would be difficult for someone to see someone who looks like you saying that whatever. Oh, why is she okay with that? Even if you would say, well, actually no, I've got black in me. So it's the offense that people take. So you've taken your own advice, I guess, which I say I applaud you for saying, you know what, you don't use that word no more, and you're bigger than that, because that word doesn't sit right with us. And you just said there, your lyrical ability should allow you to actually make music the right way without even having to use that word. Just touching on your music then, who kind of inspires you now? Because we see that there's sort of your Sexy Reds and your City Girls, or are you going for the more Lauryn Hill, Little Sims? What is your actual bag?
so I feel like a big influence growing up for me was Missy Elliott, and I love Missy Elliott because she's so versatile. You know, Missy can do the sexy, and Missy can do the having fun, and that's what I like. I like to have fun. I don't like to get too serious in life, because life can be very serious by itself, so you don't need to be serious all the time. Sometimes have fun, and I'm just excited to show my versatility, because I'm not someone you could put in a box. I never have been. You can't put me in a box. I'll break through the box. I'll stamp all over the box.
Do you sing as well?
Not in an aggressive way, but just in a, you know, creatively, you cannot control me. I'm not someone that wants to be controlled and wants to be put in a box. That's not what I want to do.
Do you sing as well?
I was pushed to growing up. I was in choir, I was in alto group, but it's not something I want to focus on mainly. Like, I want to be able to do a bit of both.
Okay. So what's the kind of plan in the future now? I mean, you dropped a song recently.
Yeah.
And how's it been doing for you?
So I think the reception was definitely mixed. Obviously, the controversy was around me saying the N-word in that freestyle.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, the reception was very mixed, and there's been good reception, there's been bad reception. We've just about hit 811 listeners on Spotify, which is exciting, and I just hope we can push further, because it's just something that I want to do. I'm really enjoying it. I love going in the studio. I love making music. I love being able to put something together and see the result at the end of it, like I said previously.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's exciting.
What's to come? Is there a project, is there an album, any collaborations you're looking at?
So I want to bring out some more songs, and then hopefully a project after that, maybe a little EP, mixtape, something like that.
Who would you
Definitely
say?
some collabs before the project.
Is there anyone we can kind of look at?
I'm not gonna give off too much.
Okay.
I like to surprise.
What's your current song called?
My current song, it's called CERTY, Straight Drop.
And why the name?
Catman's platform.
And why the name Mama CERTY, by the way?
So, Mama CERTY started out as kind of a joke. It was more just like a handle on social media.
Yeah.
But it's kind of stuck. I obviously had my daughter earlier this year. So,
Oh, you're a mother.
yeah.
Okay, first time.
Yeah.
Okay, how's motherhood?
It's everything I could have asked for and more, you know. I feel like I've got my purpose now. I think some women can feel that when they come into motherhood, and it's just a great feeling. I can't ask for anything else in this life.
And with kind of what you went through as a child, kind of, what do you kind of do to kind of safeguard your child and not have to go through that same process and hardship that you may have struggled with?
So I think when I was a child, things were very, very different. You didn't have social media and all this sort of stuff, because it's interesting to see the way people have tried to portray me after my freestyle. And to think that my daughter could be coming online in the future and be looking at some of the things I've done and some of the things I've said. You know, all I can say is what I was told, you know, do as I say, don't do as I do. And I think that is an important message from elders that have spoken to me in the past, you know. When you're growing up, it's about you evolving and you finding your own way and you doing your things your own way, being original. And to safeguard my daughter, I know that I will not be putting her through anything that I've ever gone through. I know that much.
Any last word for us?
Just thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me come and say my piece.
And that's another Big Ego podcast, and we're out.